Hey guys, Mike in the Woods here. For those of you who haven't been out backpacking or hiking for any significant amount of time, a common thing I see is a misunderstanding of exactly how much of a toll these activities can take on your body physically. Unfortunately, some people think you can just grab any old pair of running shoes out of your closet and hit the trail, and then once they're actually out there, they get blisters, sore arches, and just slip and slide all over the place because they don't have any traction. And the truth is, hiking is actually a lot more physically intense than you might think, especially when you've got a heavy backpack full of gear. When you're spending hours a day, for days on end, for weeks on end, trekking through every kind of terrain imaginable, the importance of having the right footwear for the job starts to become more and more apparent. So today, I wanted to help you fill in that information gap and just get you primed on the basics of footwear for backpacking and hiking. So subscribe if you haven't already, and let's take a look. Essentially, there's three main types of footwear you're going to see people out hiking with, depending on conditions and personal comfort. You've got trail runners, you've got hiking boots, and you've got hiking sandals. Trail runners are basically just a running shoe that's made for off-road trail use. They've got deep treads, hardened rubber around the base, toes, and heel of the shoe to protect against rocks and roots, and often even a simplified lace system that lets you tighten them up with a drawstring and tuck them into your shoe tongue. Hiking boots are the tank of the three. It's all about comfort and foot protection, including ankle support if you're someone who rolls their ankles very easily. And hiking sandals, much like trail runners are an off-road version of a running shoe, are a sandal specifically made for off-road hiking. Deep tread for grip, a thicker sole, and a bit more protection around the base of your foot. And each of them offer specific advantages and disadvantages. I would argue that trail runners are the best all-around option, especially if you're hiking an established trail like the PCT. They've got great grip and foot protection for light off-road trail hiking, but they have no ankle support, so watch your step if you go bushwhacking, or if you have rocks or roots to trek over on the trail, you run the risk of rolling your ankle if you're not careful. Trail runners are nice and lightweight and breathable, so they should be a good 3-season option when paired with seasonally appropriate socks, and should prevent your feet from getting too funky with sweat. They also dry out relatively quickly if you manage to soak them. These types of shoes are heavily favored by backpackers, especially on long-distance thru hikes like the Triple Crown trails. Hiking boots, as you'd imagine, are the heavy-duty option, thick and supportive for bushwhacking off the beaten trail, giving you ankle support and protecting your feet from all the fun little tripping hazards lying under the greenery. The downsides are that they tend to be heavy. Might not seem like much of a difference at first, but after hiking a long time in them, you'll notice how much extra energy they sap from you while trekking through the bush. They're also not very breathable, and are essentially an absolute sauna for your feet in hot weather. They take a lot longer to dry out if they get soaked, too. This option is generally favored by those looking to go wilderness camping in the backcountry or on canoe trips where you're portaging through the dense bush with a heavy canoe on your shoulders. Sandals are the light-duty option of the three for established trails where the danger to your feet is minimal. And I don't just mean rocks and roots either. You have to be careful about plants like poison ivy and giant hogweed, and where relevant, be more vigilant for animals like snakes and spiders that can get all up in there and bite you. You can also get sunburned. On the positive side, they dry extremely quickly when soaked and keep your feet open to the cooling breeze and help keep your body temperature down in really hot weather. Sandals would be good for day hikes on well-established trails or on more urban backpacking routes, especially during the peak of summer. You might not think it, but the weight of your footwear actually has huge consequences for your energy expenditure. In fact, weight on your feet might hit you up to an average of 5 times harder than weight in your backpack. So a 2-pound difference between heavy-duty boots and light trail runners is about the equivalent of 10 pounds in your backpack, so that's definitely something to keep in mind. Another common point of discussion is whether their footwear should be waterproof or not, and in my opinion, the only season you should really have to worry about waterproof footwear is in winter. Otherwise, you're probably better off going the opposite direction and getting the most breathable footwear you can. No matter how waterproof your footwear is, your feet are going to get wet. That's just the name of the game. Whether it's from water crossings, rain, or just dank foot sweat. So then, in that situation, would it not make more sense to get something as breathable as possible so that your feet dry out as quickly as possible? Especially when you consider that wet feet are a major contributing factor to blisters. In the event that you do wind up with really sweaty feet, make sure you change out your socks frequently to some dry ones to avoid blisters and funky bacteria growth. When you size for purchase, make sure you test for size after you've been walking around for a while, because, fun fact, if you didn't already know, your foot will actually swell up a bit when you've been on your feet all day, so what would otherwise be a nice and comfortable fit will turn into something very tight and constricting and very uncomfortable. You also want to make sure it supports your foot too, especially if you're like me and have suffered from plantar fasciitis in the past. You want a good fit that's not making your feet slide around, but also not too tight to the point your toes are in a boxing match with the top or front of your footwear, or causing hot spots which will lead to blisters. So hopefully you feel a bit more confident about what to shove on your foot for a trip. It's a surprisingly in-depth topic to think about, isn't it? Personally, I mainly use a pair of Salomon Ultra X trail runners. Amazon affiliate link in the description if you're interested. Having the right footwear on a day hike or a backpacking trip can seriously be the difference between a pain in the ass and an actually enjoyable trip. If you're new to the channel, I combine fun, futuristic technology with traditional outdoors experiences, so consider checking out my other videos and subscribing if that's your thing. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll catch you next video.